Right, well, good evening and welcome. This is, I think, show 28, isn't it, John? I'm Simon Loveseed, the founder of Restart Sailing, and Sarah Osen, joined my colleague and co-worker on this, John.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely great to be here, and yeah, not that long at all. Show 30. That sounds quite significant to me, but I think we're definitely going in the right direction. And I've said for a few months now, things are looking much better in May, and we seem to be on track. So when we look back at our three stages, we're definitely getting towards the end now.
We are, but scarily it does yo-yo back and forth, doesn't it? But hopefully this is the last roll of that dice, isn't it? And we're more to the right in this country. Uh,
Yeah, well, I think that the social distancing and the mask wearing have played a really important role, and they will do in the future. But the big game changer has been the vaccination, and I'm very happy, but possibly a little sore having finally got vaccinated myself. If Rich was wondering why I didn't do the Wednesday evening race, um, I think I would just encourage everybody to do it because if anyone complains that the side effects of the vaccination aren't much fun, they are a lot better than the effects of actually having COVID. So yeah, that's what's helped us a huge amount.
yes. So the three stages, again, as relative ever, from the aggressive to the limited social distancing. For us, we're nearly off the right scale, aren't we?
Well, I work with a living with the Scandinavians, so they're quite used to social distancing. I haven't noticed that much difference.
Yes.
I say in jest.
Right. So, moving on. So, yes, a bit of an update, John, on the cases. All looking quite good in this country.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we've pretty much plateaued at a low level now in the United Kingdom, and considering that things are continuing to open up, I think we're in a really good place, and it does look like moves are afoot for vaccine passports and things just to facilitate international travel, make it a little bit easier for people who want to do events in the future. Um, I've got to say that the queues at Heathrow for people trying to get back in with all their paperwork were probably not very conducive for people to do travel, but that's the safe way it needs to be. And I haven't put any slides up for this particular show, but there's a lot of progress in Japan in terms of getting ready for the Olympic Games, how it's all going to work, daily testing for athletes, what you do on entry, bubbles, what you do on exit. So yeah, I think things are cracking along. And if you look at Spain, they've been plateauing a bit at a higher level than we've been in the UK, and they've just had the RSX World Championships. And I've got to say, it's a very special event because it is actually the last ever RSX World Championships, and it was won by the Dutch, both the men's and women's, and I should have done my research better. I'm going to kick myself now, but I think the man, Kieran, it's three in a row, and Lithian, I think it's two in a row, and they've both won three world championships, which is really impressive. So if you're looking for the runners and riders for the Olympic Games, put that one back up with the coach. They never
Oh,
get
yeah,
enough
sorry.
recognition. If you're looking for runners and riders for the Olympic Games, I think they're definitely up there. And the British, we had top five with Emma, who's been just working so hard along with Tom, who was top 10, and they're definitely medal contenders as well. So I think that will be really nice light at the end of the tunnel in summer for people to watch what's going on. But of course, closer to home, sailing's restarted in a big way and just in time, I think.
Yeah, that's right. And lots of activity on the group as well, and lots of good questions. And I think clubs are sort of working out the different nuances of the different regulations. But I think it seems to be heading on the right direction, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I would say is just to call a little bit for patience because we are just in such a good place. I've got friends all around the world, and believe me, we're in a very good place compared to an awful lot of them. And we can do the most important thing, which is we can go sailing most clubs 7 days a week. And whether we have change rooms or whether we can, drive to a championship venue, that's quite a small thing when
Yeah.
we do the sport that we all love.
And what's been impressive, how the sport has adapted, hasn't it? And put in the
But
new
I think some of
procedures.
the adaptations, and I keep on saying this, I think they'll last us a lifetime. I mean, who wants to have 100 people crowded in a room trying to listen to the PRO for a briefing, whereas you can just watch it on your phone in the comfort of your B&B or hotel or whatever. I mean, some
Yeah, yeah,
things like that. Uh, I see it as a good thing, and for the coaching, a lot of things have come out of it. You know, the increased use of video and drones, and getting us coaches to talk less and keep the debrief smaller. I think
yeah.
that's probably a very good thing,
Good,
and just
good.
having people support their local sailing club.
Definitely. Right. So I guess we're heading into step 3, aren't we? 17th of May. Looking at that.
Yeah, so we're going to have a special show on the 20th of May because I think that's quite a big step forward for us as a sport, and actually that makes a huge difference. And everything I'm seeing at the moment says we're absolutely on track for the 17th of May, which is
Yeah.
wonderful news.
And I think the key thing is the overnight accommodation. So most events, open events, have been one day, I think, haven't they?
Yeah, I know. I've got to admit, I quite like the open because it means you can have a weekend when you can do something other than just sail. But maybe I shouldn't say that on the Restart Sailing show. But I have really enjoyed the idea of the 1 day events, and it actually is something that I think a lot of classes will probably carry on to do because maybe there's more people who can spare 1 day than give up an entire weekend, sort of thinking about families and other things.
Yeah, yeah. I wondered is there perhaps scope for the hybrid approach where you can do one or do 2 days as an option. Perhaps we might sort of see that.
Well, we
That's
saw it with the nationals, didn't we? The
yeah,
traditional 7 day nationals started to get shortened a few years ago. And I wonder if that's going to be the same with open meetings, where there's just a trend there, but
yeah.
time will tell.
Yeah. So the big date is still set for the 21st of June when we can all go back clubbing and all those good things that we used to be able to do. And
Well, in theory, that's actually when entry to Japan is going to start the 21st of June, although these dates only ever seem to go back, and I am sort of emotionally prepared that maybe it will be mid-July. But in terms of UK domestic sailing, yeah, that's a really really important date coming up.
yeah. And then yeah, it's good to have the framework so we really know the tests and everything that driving it and how it might go. And as you say, it's all following the pattern, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the news in terms of the vaccination, just very roughly, we have around 25% of the adult population has now had 2 vaccines. I think that's a real game changer, and that's one of the things that's gonna, mean that we have a summer of sailing.
Yeah. Right. Good. So again, the RWA have been very good at keeping up and abreast. I'm not sure if this has been updated, but I guess probably doesn't
Well,
need to be.
the very latest document I always put on the group. So if you look under files, you can look at all the latest documents there. And anything that I think will be useful, I try and put it there because it's easy to find, and the functionality in Facebook, you can't upload files to pages, you upload them to groups. So that's all there. For people who are interested in a more racing context, I have there's another group which is sort of, if you like, a bit of a sister, Training to Win, and I also put documents there. So I think it's just about trying to spread the information. And the really nice thing with the group is people can comment about these documents because sometimes they require 1 or 2 reads to get in, and that's why the RWA does such a great job with the roadmap, just to try and
Yeah,
present things in a
and
simple.
they're all sort of open to slight interpretation for each club or class. There's always a bit of variance, isn't it? You can't cover everything in each sort of grid. Right. Okay. So I think 29th of March was probably the key date in terms of organised sailing going back, and lots of open meetings have been going on. Say mainly 1 days, but seems to be good activity. I think record numbers really from what we're seeing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think probably the lockdown made people realise how much they missed sailing as opposed to other activities. So that's been a good thing. Poor old Richard, he's looking at the picture of solos and wishing they were 300s. it'd be on in a bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
but
Coming on a
the
minute, right? So So I think, should we bring in
Thank you.
Richard?
There we go. You
Oh,
can
some
wait
real boats have popped up now.
But a lot of clubs would be starting in April, so I think that timing has been really good. That we've lost the minimum amount of this season, and I think Richard will be very keen to tell us what's going on in the 300 world.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's right.
There we go. That's from 300. You're happier now. He'll be happier when he sees a purple one.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's coming up. There's the 300 coming up.
Yeah. So this me, is it now? You're over to me, are you?
Absolutely. So you're going to tell us how wonderful the 300 class is, and maybe a little bit about what happened last year, but actually to try and be quite forward focused about what's going to happen this season.
Absolutely. So this year we've got some events going on. We've had to push a few back which is just common sense, really. But I'm part of the vaccine crew now. So yes, I've had a dead arm as well, John, like yourself.
Yeah.
That suffer the consequences. But I'm so sad to see people being anti the vaccine. It's such a good step forward for everybody in the whole world, never mind in the UK.
But it also protects other people. If you've got vulnerable members of your family or just members of your family who are older, it really reduces the transmission rate. So I think that's really a step to opening up. And it's not that bad, is it, a dead arm?
No,
the RS300 can hurt you far more. That was my experience.
Yeah,
for sure. Especially some of the more dramatic capsizes that they do for you.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So this year we've got some events planned. In fact, not this weekend, but next weekend we've got our first event at Whitefriars. It's a one-day event. Just like you say, Simon, we've experimented a little this year.
Sorry, where is Whitefriars?
It's near Cirencester in Gloucestershire.
Oh, is that in the water park, Cotswold Water Park?
It is indeed, yes. Yeah. There's a couple of clubs there that we have a few boats at. So yeah, we're trying to draw them all together. Sadly, we had to cancel the one a couple of weeks ago, so there's just no wind at all.
Okay.
Thus the joy of sailing events.
So not a COVID cancellation, a wind cancellation.
No, absolutely. There was a common sense wind cancellation. Plus, people obviously were reticent to travel for one day with the risk of travelling, etc. That exposes you to. But yes, I mean, I shall go back onto the 300. I mean, that's what I'm here for. I'm always so lucky to have a brilliant boat being brought by Clive Everest to us, and it's. Can you believe now? 24 years old. Wow. The 300. It's so far ahead of its time. It's got the most developed rig that doesn't look developed that I've ever come across. I've sailed all kinds of different boats, Mustos, even old International Moss, way back when.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where the DNA for me comes from. But the 300 is so simple yet so demanding all at once. It really does test you in every which way. I've never come across a boat that if you relax for 5%, you get served up a dose of 5%. That's the kindest way I could put it. So yeah, but if you concentrate and sail it hard and do well, it rewards you really well. As John can attest to, I mean, you came to join us in the Nationals. When was it? 2008?
It was a very good welcoming club. I've got to say, It was the hardest boat to sail the next day after I've had a few beers I can recommend, but maybe that's me me just making excuses. But it was a very, very friendly class, and I also felt that I don't know how to put it, but it's such a good boat. I wasn't really that much aware of it before. And I think that's something that, with the opportunity to try a boat is only actually when you jump in that you get that real experience. So I have to say thanks very much for lending me his boat, and it was a bit of a baptism of fire, but I was very, very glad I did it.
Is this your boat here? Is it pink or purple? Difficult to say.
It's definitely purple. It's the same colour in real life as Richard's top.
Ah, right, okay.
Unless it's been left out in the sun continuously since I saw it, it's definitely that colour.
Yeah. So no, I mean, but going back to the calendar this year, we have got the Nationals planned. We've got quite a good turnout, looking like, for the Whitefriars and for the following event, which is going to be our first 2-day event up in Pennine, Yorkshire Dale Sailing Club. So that'll be our first 2-day event, which will be hopeful. We'll see how that goes, but there's again concern about travel and all the rest of it around that with COVID exposure. But hopefully it's not after June the 21st. But it's close, so that might change things.
Yeah.
Anyway,
when and where is the nationals? That's normally the big one for every class every year.
Yeah.
So Torquay in September.
Okay.
Back down in Brixham. So yeah, we're all looking forward to that one. It should be a good event. We're linked up with another fleet. I believe it's the 100. So we should have a good event, joint event. But yeah, so it was a great place to sail, just not far from where I am.
Was that Brixham?
Yes, Brixham.
Because they did a really good job last year. They were one of the for me they were one of the standout clubs.
Well, one of the few clubs actually running championships. I think they did the Mustos and the 2000, didn't they?
So you're definitely in safe hands there.
Yes.
Excellent. That's good to hear.
And what happened with the season last year? I mean, it seems a long time ago now, and I know a lot of classes found it very difficult. What was it like for you guys?
Sadly, we couldn't run the nationals. It just landed badly. We were heading back into lockdowns in September. We've always had our nationals later in the summer. So we've had a national champion who's sub 70 kilos now, good old Stalky Alistair. Who did incredibly well 2 years ago, but he's still holding the trophy very proudly. But that's great because we've had. I mean, he was up against Steve Cockrell, who came in and did his best, and Alistair actually beat him. So it was quite a surprise. Down to the last race, counting back on points as well. So
that's
close.
How you like it. That's how you like it.
Yeah, and that's an interesting concept you said about a lot of classes missed out last year. So we've got a lot of ongoing champions, and I think it's like the Flying 15s have cancelled twice their world championship, haven't they? So I think it's Chris Turner, isn't it, who's would have been the world champion for several years now. So it's, one of the hidden bonuses of this lockdown is that if you won it in 2019, you could be holding on for several years.
Well, you say that some of the classes will have end up with world championships within 6 months of each other as well. Now we've all started. So.
Yeah, that all sort of happens. Right, good. So,
absolutely, yeah. But the wonderful versatility and strength of the 300. I mean, there is a picture in the background on the slideshow of me going around the tip of the Isle of Wight. Yes, you can around the Isle of Wight, and I did it. So it is a strong, reliable boat, and people look at them and they're scared of them, and they get worried that it's going to hurt me. It's too quick. It's too much of a handful. It can be, but once you know the tricks and the ways, and with the friendly fleet that we are, everybody helps everybody, and it's such a pleasure to be screaming up to the windward mark on port and being waved through by somebody bellowing starboard and keep pushing you away. Look at it, who wins that race? Everybody wins if you wave somebody through, rather than screaming in and messing everybody else up. So yeah, we're very friendly and very welcoming as a class. And we've had some great events with, as you can see in the video in the background, quite a variety of weights, sizes, and shapes of people. So there you go. Yeah. There's the weight range.
Yeah. And if you wanted to get into the class, is there a demo boat or anything like that?
There is a demo boat that's we're trying to get it to follow the circuit at the moment. So thanks for the prompt there, Simon. That's going to Whitefriars, and it's organised to go up to Pennine as well. Okay. So it'll be available for anybody at those clubs to trial, and that's the plan, is for it to follow all the way through the circuit. So it'll be at that club for a month or so around the event, so people can have a go in it.
Okay, and how do people sort of get their name on the list? Or?
Normally talk to the association, myself, or the stalwarts that are within the clubs. So we've got Ben Hepburn's stall at Whitefriars. He's organising things up there, and we've got the wonderful Cheryl up at Yorkshire Dales, who's organising things up there. They'll be able to help.
Because what we really want, not just the 300, but every club, is just to get boats back out on the water. It's always upsetting when you walk around, especially an inland club, and you see moss growing on a boat. So I think the idea when you have your open meetings is you can get your entire local fleet out, because you've just got that sort of key driving thing. So yeah, that's amazing.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we try and do. We drag all the local members in. Come on, have a go. What could possibly go wrong? You're only going to get wet.
Yeah. And again, yes, it's great to see some of these colours. I've seen the yellow boat. Is that Pete? I think we see him on the Seljuk series coming out. So nice to see some colour boats rather than the usual whites and greys that we normally get.
Yeah. Some people have been adventurous with grey.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Right. So, moving on. So, events starting back. This actually, we say it's the Seljuk Spring Series, but actually this is still the Seljuk Winter Series.
Thank you very much, Richard. It's very appreciated.
Yeah, we still
hope to see you at the Seljuk, I don't know what to call it now, Summer Series.
Well, allegedly it's still the Winter Series, but so we managed to run the Datchet Flyer. That was the only event we managed to run between lockdowns. Literally, as one lockdown finished, we had a few days before the next, didn't we? In December, we managed to get an event in, and sadly that was the only event. So we've agreed that the events like the Grafenbell coming up, that's coming up. Little prompt here. The end of May will be the next event, and that will count for the rankings for the Winter Series, believe it or not. And then we go through a couple more events and end up with the Tiger Trophy at the end of August, normally beginning of February. So just to confuse everyone, but the idea is to take a few of the events in the summer and allow them still to count, and hopefully we can get a bit of series together. And fingers crossed to restart back in November with the Datchet Flyer. And I think probably looking more hopeful this year until we see the dreaded next wave, John.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think certainly August, September is looking wonderful. I mean, the winters we always get a little bit of problems with with viral virus, coughs, colds, flus, etc. And I think people have probably got it very in hand, and we may well be offered booster shots.
Well, yeah, I think the feeling is we'll get to the sort of where the flu situation is, where these things are still hanging around, aren't they? But they're not going to bring everything to a grinding halt.
I think as long as we're not in the situation where viruses are life-threatening, life goes on. That's
yes.
And that includes winter sailing. And I think probably a few people have missed a couple of winters, and they'll be very pleased. And the fact it's only 5 degrees will not be the off-putter that it was in previous years.
Yeah, and I think as you were saying earlier, people are just so more appreciative of things that perhaps they've forgotten about, and how good sailing is and how good local sailing is. I think that's really been some of the positives that's come out of this awful situation.
Yeah, support your local club. Use it or lose it.
Yeah. As we say, sort of race local and everything like that. So I think as we slowly wrap up, could we talk about the coaching?
I feel good with the coaching now. I feel it's sort of quite appropriate because everybody can go racing now. I mean, obviously, some people will be very happy just pottering around on a Saturday morning. My focus has always been more racing, and that's that's why I train to be able to race better, or more to the point now, I'm getting a bit long in the tooth. Why I train other people so they can race better. And the importance of good boat handling, it's hard to underestimate. If you look at the Sail GP and look at the AC and these incredible flying machines, races are still decided by boat handling, being able to turn around the corners. And one of the most simple things is the leeward mark rounding. So you exit the leeward mark in a position that you can carry on sailing, or you can tack away and you have clean wind. And it's just that old Formula One racing turn that you need to do a wide entry and a tight exit to the mark, and it just leaves you those options. So this is a really good thing to practice every time we do windward lewards, rather than just stopping at the bottom mark. I think it's good to do a proper leeward mark rounding, or even a leeward mark rounding and attack. And I think a lot of club racing will finish on an upwind finish, so there's still places to be gained and lost on that final little beat. The Ilka class at their regattas often finish on a beat to windward, so that mark rounding becomes really important. And I think any skill, the more you practice it, the easier it gets. Practice makes permanent. So today's top tip was the importance of good boat handling, and specifically that leeward mark rounding. And it does make a difference what class of boat you sail, and of course how windy it is and what the current's doing. So definitely part of your warm up before your race.
Yeah, yeah, and certainly looking at our tracking data, it's amazing how many people lose or gain at that bottom gate, don't they? You can see 10 or 20 places gone, can't you?
Absolutely, and it can be a slow loss if you go round with a slightly poor mark rounding, and then you end up in dirty air or having to tack off out of phase with the shift. It's not just that initial bit. It takes you time to get the kite down or whatever. It's affecting your whole strategy for the next leg.
Right.
Can I ask a
Okay.
quick question?
Yeah, yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
It's very pertinent, but as you come round the leeward mark, is it worthwhile overshooting a fraction just so you gain that half boat length so you can climb? I've often found that I lose speed, but it's worth gaining the height. Tactically, it's better to have the height, but what do you think on that one, John?
Well, there's two things really. So race strategy is all about getting around the race course in the smallest possible time. So it's just like doing a time trial with no other boats there. So in that point, you want to just head up to your close haul course and carry that momentum through to your close haul course, and then you have flow and attachment to your sail. Because any additional steering you do, for example, if you luff up a little bit too high, you're going to have to do some corrective steering to come back down again. And I think it's about doing a smooth, good turn, because it's actually much easier to keep a high VMG without the boat going really high speed and low, and then really low speed sailing high. That's why the best VMG for boats is normally somewhere in the middle, because if you try and pinch, it's really easy to lose speed, and if you try and foot, it's really easy to sail too much extra distance. In terms of boat-to-boat tactics, if you're not sure, it's better to come around the mark slightly high just to ensure that you can carry on sailing without being in the boat in front's dirty wind. And you see that a lot when the boats are very, very close together. Everybody goes around the mark. Everybody tends to go a little bit high just to be on the safe side. And in this scenario, probably you need to slightly oversheet the main so that the front of the sail doesn't flap when you come out on that very high angle. So that's the wonderful thing about coaching. Everything you say, there's always a caveat. So there's the sort of mark rounding you do when you're super close to other boats, and there's the mark rounding you do when actually you're just sailing your own race. I mean, if you're leading a race and you have a good lead, you want to sort of make it easy for other people to follow you, so to speak. Or if you're just trying to defend your position, then actually you're probably more worried about just staying in front of the boats behind you rather than progressing around the race course. I think one of the things you need to do is just practice so you know exactly how high you can come out the mark and how long it takes you to get the sheet in, because I think people will be surprised. And what you don't want to do is come around the mark with a lot of leeward heel. So actually when you bear the boat away back to a close haul course, normal close haul course, you have to use a lot of rudder. So I think in two-man boats, you need to make sure everybody, or even more multi-crew boats, you need to make sure everybody knows what we're doing. So whether you're coming round on a high mode or not. But the thing is about a time and distance exercise. So light winds, I think you can always push it hard because you can get that sheet in, etc., very quickly. And if you're a little bit heel, maybe it's not the end of the world. If it's, to coin a phrase, fresh to frightening, so 20 knots plus, maybe you just need to give yourself a little bit more time and do a mark rounding in an easy way to avoid what could go wrong. I hope that answers your question. It's nice. I would say this is live, and there's always the opportunity to ask questions on Facebook. So we're here to do a normal interactive coaching session at the end of every Restart Sailing.
Right. Okay. Good question, Richard. So 2 weeks time. Please be joined by John Holt.
Absolutely. So we're back to multi-crewed boats, very much so.
Multidiscipline. So John, who many will know, is a teacher at the Craig City Academy and has done some great things at bringing in some of the pupils from the east of London, I think it is, and got them into sailing, and possibly under doing it. Starting with mini tonners that we see here, the Scaramange, which was I think a FAR 45. It did the Fastnet. But also doing lasers and Ilkas and 420s now, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're going to be doing the circuit, and for the kids, it's absolutely great, and I'm really looking forward to it. Just 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, John's done some great things and been very innovative of getting old boats out there. I think taking old toppers and repairing them and getting them on the water, but importantly, been very inclusive, getting people out sailing who ordinarily perhaps would not have the opportunity. And I think a lot to learn there. Very exciting to be joined with John in a couple of weeks' time.
Perfect. Well, I hope to have as many viewers on the 13th of May and see you then.
Right, yes. Okay. And thank you very much, Richard, for joining us.
Thank you very much for asking me.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.